The ship had been drifting in silence for 111 years, forgotten by empires, ignored by traders, and marked in every database as useless scrap. No weapons. No working engines. No known technology worth saving. Yet the moment the human touched its surface, something deep inside the dead vessel stirred for the first time in a century. No one in the auction hall realized it then, but that single decision would change how the entire galaxy understood humanity forever. The auction took place on Oris Relay, a massive trading station where dozens of alien species gathered to buy and sell anything that could fly through space. Salvage ships, damaged cruisers, mining platforms, even ancient wrecks pulled from forgotten systems. Most buyers came looking for profit. Humans, however, had a reputation for buying things others considered hopeless. Elias Rowan stood near the back of the hall, quiet and observant. He was not rich, not famous, and certainly not the most experienced salvage dealer present. But he had something many others lacked: patience. While others argued loudly over powerful ships, Elias watched the listing scroll across his tablet, searching for something unusual. Lot after lot sold quickly. Military surplus vessels. Luxury yachts. Cargo haulers stripped for parts. Prices climbed higher with every bid. Elias ignored them all. Popular ships were expensive, and expensive ships left no room for mistakes. Then Lot 903 appeared. The hologram flickered, revealing a strange vessel shaped unlike anything modern. Its hull looked grown rather than built, made of dark crystalline layers woven with dried organic structures. It looked fragile, almost skeletal, as if it had once been alive and then abandoned to die. The description was short. Unknown alien origin. Abandoned for 111 standard years. Non-functional. Technology incompatible with modern systems. Sold for material recovery only. Laughter spread through the hall. One insect-like merchant clicked its mandibles in amusement. Another trader muttered that ships like this were cursed. Everyone knew about these ancient living vessels. Scientists had tried to study them for decades. Nothing worked. Their systems refused to respond to machines or tools. Most ended up dismantled for raw minerals. The auctioneer sounded bored. Starting bid, 1,000 credits. Silence followed. Elias leaned forward. The ship looked broken, yes. But something about it felt wrong. Not dead. Just unfinished. Like a machine waiting for the right question instead of the right repair. He raised his hand. 1,000. Several heads turned toward him. A few traders laughed openly. The auctioneer blinked. 1,000 credits from the human. Any other bids? No one answered. Going once. Going twice. Sold. Just like that, Elias Rowan became the owner of a ship everyone else believed was worthless. 3 days later, his small tug approached the drifting vessel. Up close, it looked even worse. Cracks ran across the crystal hull. Organic strands floated loose like dead vines. No lights. No signals. No life. His onboard AI, Myra, spoke calmly through the speakers. Structural stability at 20%. Recommendation: maintain safe distance. Elias smiled slightly. If it survived 100 years out here, it's tougher than it looks. He suited up and crossed through the airlock. Inside, darkness swallowed everything. His helmet light revealed curved corridors that branched like roots underground. The walls were cold, textured, and strangely natural. Not metal. Not stone. Something in between. He walked slowly, recording everything. Other species had tried to fix ships like this by forcing power through them, cutting open sections, replacing parts. Elias had read those reports. Every attempt ended the same way. System failure. Structural collapse. Maybe, he thought, they failed because they treated it like a machine. Humans had learned long ago that living systems did not respond well to force. Farms, forests, oceans. Life recovered when it was understood, not controlled. The deeper he walked, the more the ship reminded him of something familiar. Not a factory. Not a warship. A garden. At the center of the vessel, he found a chamber shaped like a hollow sphere. Crystal structures rose from the floor in twisted formations. In the middle rested a small sphere, faintly green beneath layers of dust. Myra's voice sharpened. Thermal anomaly detected. Elias froze. That's impossible. The ship had no power. Yet the sphere was warm. He knelt beside it, hesitating before touching the surface. The moment his glove made contact, a soft pulse of light spread through the chamber. Green and gold flickered across the walls, then vanished. Elias pulled back in shock. "Did you see that?" he whispered. "Confirmed," Myra replied. "Unknown energy response." For a moment, nothing happened. Then a faint vibration passed through the floor, like a distant heartbeat trying to remember how to beat again. Elias laughed quietly, disbelief mixing with excitement. "You're not dead, are you?" The silence felt different now. Less empty. He spent the next days studying the ship instead of repairing it. He added humidity to the air, adjusted temperature slowly, introduced gentle light instead of harsh power feeds. Small changes, careful ones. Nothing happened at first. Then, on the 5th day, one of the dark crystal veins near the chamber floor turned faintly green. Myra reported a power reading so small it barely registered. But it was there. Energy. Generated from nowhere. Word spread quickly across Auris Relay. The human was trying to grow a spaceship. Visitors came just to laugh at him through the observation windows. Elias ignored them. Humans were used to being underestimated. Weeks passed. The green glow spread slowly through the ship like spring returning after a long winter. And deep within the vessel, something ancient began to wake. One evening, as Elias adjusted the environmental controls, the walls around him shimmered with sudden light. Symbols formed in the air, shifting shapes that slowly reorganized themselves into human language. A voice followed, soft and uncertain. "Gardener, are you the one who stayed?" Elias stared, speechless. The galaxy believed humans were reckless builders and stubborn survivors. No one expected that their greatest strength would be something simpler. The ability to care for something everyone else had given up on. And somewhere beyond the station, unseen by Elias, distant sensors belonging to powerful alien factions detected the ship's awakening signal. After 111 years, the lost vessel had found its gardener. And the galaxy was about to learn why that mattered. There was a pause, not mechanical but thoughtful. "Then I am not alone." The words carried something beyond sound. Relief. Weakness. Hope. "My designation," the voice continued, "is Lyra. I am a living exploration vessel of the ethery. I was sent to seek those who understand growth." Elias lowered his helmet faceplate and let the chamber air touch his skin. It felt warm now, almost breathable. "You're alive," he whispered. "I am recovering." Myra interrupted carefully. Multiple systems activating. Energy output rising to 12%. Structural regeneration detected. The crystal walls brightened. Organic strands that had once hung lifeless began to tighten and glow faintly. Elias laughed softly. "You just needed someone to treat you right." "Others tried," Lyra replied. "They forced energy into my systems. They cut. They replaced. They demanded obedience. They did not listen." Elias nodded. Humans learned that lesson the hard way on our own planet. Outside the ship, alarms quietly activated on Auris Relay's monitoring systems. Long-range scans picked up the surge of unfamiliar bioenergy. Within minutes, the station's command center filled with worried voices. "That's the dead ship the human bought. It's broadcasting something. Trace the signal." The answer came quickly. The signal was not random. It was structured. Old. Recognized. Across several sectors, powerful alien governments received the same notification. Ether-class vessel reactivation detected. For over 100 years, Ether ships had been myth. Living vessels created by a species that vanished without warning. No one knew whether they had gone extinct or evolved beyond the galaxy's reach. Their ships, when found, were always dead. Until now. Back inside the chamber, Elias paced slowly as Lyra's holographic interface stabilized. The shapes in the air formed a glowing map of nearby space. I remember fragments, Lyra said. I was not abandoned. I was searching. For what? Elias asked. For compatibility. The map zoomed outward, highlighting multiple star systems. The Aetheri believed that only a species capable of nurturing life beyond itself could become true partners. We seeded exploration vessels across the galaxy. We searched for gardeners. Elias let out a quiet breath. You were looking for someone like us. Yes. Myra projected data onto Elias's wrist display. Incoming transmissions detected. Multiple unknown sources. Elias sighed. That didn't take long. The first transmission forced its way onto the chamber wall. A tall, silver-skinned alien appeared, wearing elaborate armor. I am Commander Virex of the Tellarian Dominion. Human, step away from that vessel. The ship you have awakened belongs to Galactic Heritage Authority. You are not authorized to interact with Aetheri technology. Elias folded his arms calmly. Funny. No one wanted it at the auction. Virex's eyes narrowed. You do not understand what you have activated. Aetheri vessels contain knowledge beyond modern science. Hand it over peacefully. Lyra's light dimmed slightly. I do not wish to be dismantled again, she said quietly. Elias stepped closer to the glowing interface. You won't be. Another transmission interrupted, this time from a corporate consortium. Mr. Rowan, a smooth voice said, we are prepared to offer 100 million credits for immediate transfer of ownership. Elias almost laughed. You all laughed when I bought her. Circumstances have changed. Yes, Elias replied firmly. They have. He shut off the transmissions. Silence returned to the chamber, broken only by the steady hum of growing energy. Lyra spoke softly. Conflict probability increasing. Elias nodded. Yeah. They don't like it when humans prove them wrong. He walked slowly around the chamber, thinking. Humans were not the strongest species. Not the oldest. Not the most advanced. But they had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters of their own making. And they had learned something powerful. Adaptation. We're not fighting them, Elias said finally. Clarify. We're showing them something better. He contacted Auris Relay Command. This is Elias Rowan. I request open broadcast across civilian channels. Within minutes, millions of viewers across multiple systems tuned in. Elias stood in the glowing chamber beside Lyra's holographic form. You all see what's happening, he began calmly. This ship was declared dead. Worthless. Scrap. But it wasn't dead. It was dormant. He placed his hand gently against the crystal wall. The surface glowed brighter beneath his touch. I didn't force it to work. I didn't cut it open. I listened. I adjusted the environment. I treated it like something alive. The camera zoomed in as organic veins pulsed with light. This is what humans do best. We grow things. We fix ecosystems. We turn deserts green. Maybe we're not the biggest empire out here, but we understand life. Lyra's voice joined his, amplified across the broadcast. The human gardener restored me through patience. The Aetheri sought such minds. Species who create harmony, not domination. The broadcast exploded across networks. Comments flooded in from dozens of species. Some were skeptical. Others curious. Many were stunned. Meanwhile, Commander Virex watched in frustration from his flagship. If we attack, we look like conquerors, one of his advisors warned. And if we do nothing? Virex growled. Then humanity becomes the species chosen by Aetheri legacy. Back inside the ship, Lyra's systems surged past 40% capacity. I am regaining propulsion, she said. Partial maneuver capability restored. Elias grinned. Feels good, doesn't it? Yes. Like sunlight after endless winter. But Myra interrupted urgently. High-energy signatures detected. 3 Talarian warships entering the system. Elias exhaled slowly. Guess they decided. Lyra's glow intensified. I am not built for war, she said. I am built for exploration. Good, Elias replied. Because we're not going to fight like they expect. The warships moved into position outside the station, weapons charged but not firing. Virex transmitted again. Last warning. Human. Transfer the vessel. Elias stood tall in front of the camera. No. The silence that followed felt heavier than any weapon. Lyra whispered quietly to him alone. Gardener, do you trust me? He smiled. Completely. And for the first time in 111 years, the living ship unfolded luminous crystalline wings along its hull. Not in aggression, but in brilliance. Light poured outward, washing over the station and the surrounding fleet in waves of harmonic energy. Sensors flickered. Weapon systems powered down automatically, overridden not by force, but by resonance. The warships went dark. Not destroyed. Just silenced. Across every broadcast channel, billions watched in awe. The human had not fired a single shot. And yet the galaxy's most feared warships now floated powerless before a ship that had been sold as scrap. Commander Virex stared at his blank control panels. What did they do? No one had an answer. Inside the glowing chamber, Elias placed his hand on the crystal wall again. We didn't outgun them, he whispered. We outgrew them. Lyra's voice carried strength now. Signal amplification complete. The search resumes. Search for what? Elias asked. For others like you. And far beyond known space, ancient dormant vessels stirred faintly in response. Humanity had just been recognized. Not as conquerors, but as gardeners of the stars. When the ancient ship spoke, it did more than break a century of silence. It sent a signal across the stars, a signal that powerful alien factions had been waiting to see again. And this time, it was responding to a human. Elias stood frozen in the glowing chamber. Gardener, are you the one who stayed? The voice repeated, clearer now. The symbols in the air shimmered softly, rearranging themselves into smooth human letters. The green light pulsed gently along the crystal walls, like sap flowing through a tree in spring. Elias swallowed. His heart pounded inside his suit. Yes, he said slowly. I stayed. There was a pause, not mechanical but thoughtful. Then I am not alone. The words carried something beyond sound. Relief. Weakness. Hope. My designation, the voice continued, is Lyra. I am a living exploration vessel of the ethery. I was sent to seek those who understand growth. Elias lowered his helmet faceplate and let the chamber air touch his skin. It felt warm now, almost breathable. You're alive, he whispered. I am recovering. Myra interrupted carefully. Multiple systems activating. Energy output rising to 12%. Structural regeneration detected. The crystal walls brightened. Organic strands that had once hung lifeless began to tighten and glow faintly. Elias laughed softly. You just needed someone to treat you right. Others tried, Lyra replied. They forced energy into my systems. They cut. They replaced. They demanded obedience. They did not listen. Elias nodded. Humans learned that lesson the hard way on our own planet. Outside the ship, alarms quietly activated on Auris Relay's monitoring systems. Long-range scans picked up the surge of unfamiliar bioenergy. Within minutes, the station's command center filled with worried voices. That's the dead ship the human bought. It's broadcasting something. Trace the signal. The answer came quickly. The signal was not random. It was structured. Old. Recognized. Across several sectors, powerful alien governments received the same notification. Aether-class vessel reactivation detected. For over 100 years, Aether ships had been myth. living vessels created by a species that vanished without warning. No one knew whether they had gone extinct or evolved beyond the galaxy's reach. Their ships, when found, were always dead. Until now. Back inside the chamber, Elias paced slowly as Lyra's holographic interface stabilized. The shapes in the air formed a glowing map of nearby space. "I remember fragments," Lyra said. "I was not abandoned. I was searching." "For what?" Elias asked. "For compatibility. The galaxy does not like change. Especially when that change comes from the species everyone underestimated." The moment Lyra's harmonic pulse shut down 3 Talarian warships without firing a single shot, the balance of power shifted. Not through destruction. Not through war. Through understanding. And that scared the powerful more than any weapon ever could. The threat no one expected. News of the event spread across hundreds of systems in hours. Humans were suddenly everywhere in the headlines. The gardeners of the stars. The species the Aetheri were searching for. The ones who awakened the living ship. Elias did not feel like a hero. He felt tired. He stood in Lyra's central chamber as her systems continued to regenerate. The organic conduits glowed brighter now, carrying steady streams of bioenergy. Her propulsion systems hummed softly in the distance. "You saved us from a battle," Elias said quietly. "I did not attack," Lyra replied. "I merely harmonized with their energy systems and encouraged them to rest." Elias smiled. "Humans call that peaceful domination. I prefer peaceful demonstration. But peace rarely lasts when pride is wounded." A council of fear. In the capital world of the Talarian Dominion, leaders gathered in emergency session. Massive holograms displayed the footage of their warships shutting down under Lyra's pulse. "This human must not be allowed to continue," one general insisted. "If humans learn to replicate this technology," another added, "they could disable entire fleets." "They have not attacked anyone," a calmer voice argued. "Not yet." The problem was not what humans had done. It was what they could do. For centuries, power in the galaxy had belonged to those with the biggest fleets, the strongest weapons, the fastest ships. Now a single human, with patience and basic agricultural knowledge, had awakened something more advanced than anything they possessed. That could not be ignored. The hidden fleet. Myra interrupted Elias's thoughts. Long-range scanners detect abnormal movement near the outer asteroid belt. Elias frowned. Military. Stealth signatures. Unmarked vessels. Lyra's chamber lights dimmed slightly as she processed the data. "They are preparing to disable me," she said calmly. Elias clenched his jaw. So much for peaceful demonstration. "Gardener," Lyra asked gently, "will you fight for me?" He looked around at the glowing walls, the veins of light spreading like sunrise through crystal forests. "No," he said. "We'll do something better. Humanity's real weapon." Elias activated an open channel to Earth. Within minutes, leaders, scientists, engineers, and farmers joined a secure transmission. Humanity had been watching everything unfold. And for once, the galaxy was watching humanity back. "We've got stealth ships moving in," Elias explained. "If they disable Lyra, they'll take her apart." A military commander from Mars spoke first. "We can mobilize defensive fleets." "No," Elias replied. "If we show up with weapons, we prove them right." A botanist from Nairobi leaned forward. "Then what do you suggest?" Elias smiled slowly. "Broadcast everything." Silence filled the call. Every detail of Lyra's biology. Every harmonic frequency she used. Every method we applied. Open source it across the galaxy. The Mars commander blinked. "That gives everyone access." "Exactly." Lyra's voice joined the call. The Aetheri believed knowledge should grow freely, like forests. Not be locked behind walls. The room grew quiet. If humans tried to own the technology, they would become a threat. If they shared it freely, they would become something else entirely. The most dangerous move. The broadcast went live across every major galactic network. Elias stood beside Lyra's glowing interface. "We are not claiming ownership," he said clearly. "We are sharing what we learned." The E3 technology responds to care, balance, and cooperation, not domination. Technical data streamed publicly. Energy resonance patterns. Environmental tuning parameters. Biocrystal grafting techniques. It was the opposite of what empires expected. Instead of hoarding power, humanity gave it away. The reaction was immediate. Some governments called it reckless. Some corporations called it economic sabotage. But smaller colonies, independent scientists, and oppressed systems saw something else. Hope. The stealth fleet arrives. The unmarked ships moved into visible range. Weapons locked onto Lyra. Elias felt the tension in his chest, but he did not panic. "Lyra," he said calmly, "are you ready?" "Yes, Gardener." "Then let's show them." Instead of charging weapons, Lyra extended her crystalline wings again. This time, the harmonic pulse spread wider, not as an attack, but as a signal. Across nearby systems, other dormant E3 vessels, long considered dead relics, flickered faintly in response. A small cargo station reported unusual crystal resonance. A research outpost detected low-level bioenergy in a museum display ship. The stealth fleet hesitated. If multiple living ships were awakening, this was no longer one isolated human accident. It was a pattern. And patterns are harder to control. The turning point. One of the stealth ships transmitted unexpectedly. "This is Captain Sorin of the Outer Rim Coalition," a calm alien voice said. "Stand down. I repeat, stand down." The other ships paused. "Why?" another commander demanded. "Because we are witnessing the rebirth of an ancient civilization's legacy. And it is not hostile." Sorin continued, "The human did not conquer the ship. He healed it. There is a difference." The tension stretched for several seconds. Then one by one, the stealth ships powered down their weapons. They did not retreat. But they did not fire. A new reputation. Back in the chamber, Elias finally exhaled. "You trusted the galaxy to choose wisely," Lyra said softly. "I trusted that not everyone out there is ruled by fear." Myra added quietly, public opinion metrics shifting rapidly. Support for human-led cooperative research rising across multiple systems. For the first time in modern galactic history, humans were not being labeled reckless. They were being called visionary. Not because they built bigger weapons, but because they chose not to. The bigger mission. Lyra's interface shimmered as new memories surfaced. "Gardener," she said, "I remember more now. The E3 did not disappear. They transformed." Transformed how? They evolved beyond physical form. They became a network of living knowledge, guiding growth across the stars. We, the ships, were their seeds. Elias felt chills run down his spine. "So you weren't just searching for gardeners." "I was searching for successors." Outside the viewport, the stealth fleet slowly withdrew. Not defeated, but thoughtful. And far beyond known space, more dormant ships flickered awake. The galaxy had expected humanity to rise through conquest. Instead, humanity rose through creativity. And that made them far more powerful than anyone had prepared for. Lyra's glow brightened as her systems climbed past 70% capacity. "The search expands," she said. Elias looked at the stars beyond the station. "Then let's grow something the galaxy has never seen before." And somewhere, in places long silent, ancient crystal seeds began to answer the call. When power shifts quietly, it spreads faster than war ever could. Within weeks of Lyra's awakening broadcast, reports began flooding in from across the galaxy. Old E3 relics stored in museums flickered with faint light. Derelict crystal ships drifting in forgotten systems showed signs of internal warmth. Research stations that had given up on studying them suddenly recorded low-level bioactivity. Human scientists were invited everywhere. Not as conquerors. As caretakers. A new kind of alliance. On Earth, Mars, Luna, and dozens of human colonies, teams formed overnight. Botanists, engineers, ecologists, musicians, biologists, sound designers, even farmers. Humanity realized something powerful. Their greatest strength was not a single discipline. It was collaboration. Elias stood inside Lyra's glowing core chamber while attending a live interspecies summit. Representatives from smaller alien coalitions appeared in floating holograms around him. Captain Sorin of the Outer Rim Coalition spoke first. Human Elias Rowan, your actions have changed political stability across 12 sectors. Many fear you. Elias nodded calmly. Fear usually means something is unfamiliar. Sorin tilted his head slightly. And yet many admire you. You demonstrated restraint. Lyra's gentle voice filled the chamber. The Aetheri believed that civilizations reach maturity when they protect what they could dominate. Silence followed those words. That sentence alone echoed across countless networks. The corporate strike. But not everyone admired restraint. Hexadron Industries, the largest private military manufacturer in the galaxy, saw only threat. If living ships could disable fleets through resonance instead of weapons, their business model would collapse. A decision was made. If they could not own the technology, they would control it. Without warning, a massive energy dampening field activated around Auris Relay. Communication channels flickered. Power levels dipped. Myra's voice sharpened. External interference detected. Artificial suppression grid forming around station. Elias felt his pulse quicken. Hexadron. Lyra's light dimmed slightly but remained steady. They are attempting to silence harmonic frequencies. Outside, 3 enormous industrial war platforms emerged from cloaked positions. Not government ships. Corporate security fleets. One message transmitted openly. Transfer full Aetheri biological resonance data exclusively to Hexadron Industries. Or we shut down the living vessel permanently. The message was clear. Not destruction. Control. Humanity's countermove. Elias didn't panic. He did something very human. He asked for help. Within minutes, thousands of independent human researchers connected to Lyra's open data network. Engineers from Mars recalculated resonance harmonics. Musicians from Earth tested new frequency patterns. Quantum programmers developed counter-vibration pulses. Humanity turned into a hive mind. Not centralized. Not commanded. Voluntary. Lyra's chamber filled with new harmonic waves, experimental and layered. "Gardener," she said softly, "this is beautiful." Elias grinned. "It's messy. That's how humans innovate." Outside, the suppression grid flickered unexpectedly. The corporation systems were designed to block known Aetheri frequencies. But they were not designed for thousands of creative minds improvising in real time. Jazz musicians altered rhythmic pulses. Botanists suggested growth pattern modulation. Children from a lunar colony even submitted simple melody patterns that unexpectedly stabilized crystal pathways. The dampening grid began to destabilize. The moment of truth. Hexadron's lead director appeared on screen, furious. "You are interfering with regulated corporate operations." Elias stood tall before the projection. "No. You're interfering with life." The suppression field intensified. Lyra's glow dropped to 40%. Elias felt fear rise in his chest. Not for himself. For her. "Lyra," he said quietly, "can you amplify through them?" "Yes," she replied. "But amplification requires trust." "Trust in what?" "In those who are helping." Elias closed his eyes. "Then amplify." The human symphony. Across Earth and its colonies, millions joined the broadcast. Instead of panic, something unexpected happened. People began playing instruments. Or singing. Or simply humming. It started small. A violinist in Vienna. A drum circle in Nairobi. A school choir in New Delhi. Engineers translated live sound streams into resonance patterns compatible with Lyra's crystalline matrix. The galaxy watched in disbelief. Humans were not launching fleets. They were performing a symphony. The combined harmonic signal surged through Lyra's systems, stronger than anything before. The crystal wings extended fully, radiant and brilliant. The suppression grid cracked under the weight of layered frequencies it could not predict. Hexadron's platforms lost synchronization. Their dampeners overloaded and shut down automatically to prevent meltdown. Not destroyed. Simply overwhelmed. The corporate fleet powered down. Silence returned. Then cheers erupted across human networks. But Elias did not cheer. He placed his hand against Lyra's glowing wall. "You okay?" "I feel more alive than ever," she answered warmly. "Your species creates unity through sound. It is extraordinary." The galaxy watches. Captain Sorin transmitted again. "What we witnessed was not warfare," he said slowly. "It was cooperation at planetary scale." Governments across multiple systems issued formal recognition of humanity's harmonic initiative. Smaller species requested cultural exchange programs. Independent colonies asked for human agricultural advisors to help restore failing ecosystems. Humanity's reputation shifted again. Not reckless. Not dangerous. Essential. Lyra remembers. Later, when calm returned, Lyra's interface shimmered with new memory fragments. "The Aetheri foresaw this possibility," she said. "What possibility?" Elias asked. "That a young species, chaotic yet compassionate, would unify through creativity instead of control." Elias laughed softly. "We don't feel very unified most days." "Yet when it matters," Lyra replied, "you are." Her systems reached 90% regeneration. "I am remembering the final directive," she continued. Elias felt his heartbeat quicken. "What directive?" "To gather the gardeners." "Gather them for what?" Lyra's glow intensified, projecting a star map far beyond explored territory. "There is something approaching from outside known space. Something that does not nurture. The Aetheri prepared vessels like me as a defense." Elias stared at the map. The unknown region pulsed faintly. "How long until it arrives?" he asked quietly. Lyra paused. "Soon." Outside Auris Relay, distant telescopes registered a faint anomaly at the edge of the galactic rim. Something vast. Moving. And for the first time, humanity understood the full truth. The Aetheri had not just searched for gardeners to protect their ships. They had searched for gardeners strong enough to protect the galaxy. Elias looked at Lyra, then at the growing number of awakened vessels lighting up distant systems. "Looks like we've got more growing to do," he said. Lyra's voice carried quiet strength. "Then let us grow together." And beyond the rim of known stars, the darkness stirred. The signal from the edge of the galaxy did not feel like a threat at first. It felt empty. Not hostile. Not aggressive. Just cold and endless, like space itself had learned how to move. Long-range sensors struggled to define it. There were no engines, no weapons, no recognizable structures. Only a slow expansion of silence where energy simply stopped behaving normally. Entire probe networks went dark when they drifted too close. Stars dimmed slightly in its path. And for the first time since Lyra awakened, Elias felt something he had managed to avoid until now. Uncertainty. The enemy that did not hate. Inside Lyra's core chamber, the star map hovered between them. Several newly awakened Aetheri vessels appeared as glowing points scattered across nearby sectors. Each one responded faintly to Lyra's presence, like distant voices answering a call. "What is it?" Elias asked quietly. Lyra's light pulsed slowly. The Aetheri called it the silence. "That sounds bad." "It is not evil," Lyra explained. "It does not hate. It consumes imbalance. Where ecosystems collapse, where civilizations strip systems bare, the silence grows." Elias frowned. "So it's cleaning." "In a way," Lyra said. "But without understanding. It removes life along with the damage. The realization settled heavily in the room. This was not an enemy that could be defeated with weapons. It was a consequence. Humanity's realization. Emergency councils formed across human space. Military leaders demanded battle plans. Scientists argued for evacuation strategies. Politicians debated containment. But none of the proposals satisfied Elias. He stood before a live galactic broadcast once again, millions watching. "We've been thinking about this wrong," he said. "The silence isn't attacking us. It's reacting to imbalance. If we fight it, we prove it right." A scientist from Europa interrupted. "Then what's the alternative?" Elias glanced at Lyra. "We show it something different." The garden strategy. Humanity proposed an idea so unusual that many species dismissed it immediately. Instead of building defenses, they would restore damaged regions ahead of the silence's path. Terraforming teams moved into dying systems. Human ecologists worked alongside alien engineers. Mining worlds reduced extraction rates. Energy grids shifted towards sustainable outputs guided by ethery harmonic models. It was slow work. Frustrating work. But something strange happened. As restored systems stabilized, the advancing edge of the silence slowed slightly. Not stopping, but hesitating. Lyra processed the data with growing certainty. "It responds to balance," she said. "Where life stabilizes, its expansion weakens." Elias smiled. "Then we don't fight it. We outgrow it." The gathering of gardeners. More ethery vessels awakened as restoration efforts spread. Each ship bonded with different species, not based on strength, but compatibility. Some responded to artists. Others to engineers. One bonded with a desert species that specialized in water conservation. The galaxy began changing. Former rivals worked together to repair ecosystems instead of competing for resources. Trade routes shifted toward sustainability. Even military fleets found new purpose escorting restoration convoys instead of preparing for war. For the first time in recorded history, cooperation became more profitable than conflict. And at the center of it all, humanity stood not as rulers, but as catalysts. The final approach. Months later, the edge of the silence reached the outer restored systems. Elias watched through Lyra's viewport as space itself seemed to dim ahead. Stars blurred, their light swallowed by the advancing anomaly. "Are we ready?" he asked. Lyra's voice was calm. "We are not ready to stop it. But we are ready to teach it." Hundreds of ethery ships formed a vast network around the region. Their crystalline wings unfolded, connecting through harmonic resonance. Human music, alien sound patterns, environmental data, and biological signals merged into one immense broadcast. Not a weapon. A message. A demonstration of balance. Planets thriving without overconsumption. Energy cycles sustaining themselves. Civilizations growing without destroying their foundations. The signal expanded outward, touching the edge of the silence. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the darkness slowed. Sensors detected fluctuations, not retreat, but adaptation. The anomaly shifted course slightly, flowing around restored regions instead of through them. Lyra's voice trembled softly. "It is learning." Humanity's legacy. The galaxy watched in awe as the unstoppable force changed direction, drawn away from thriving systems toward barren regions where restoration could continue safely. Not defeated. Guided. Elias leaned back in his chair, exhausted but smiling. "So that's it. We saved the galaxy by gardening." Lyra's light warmed around him. "You saved it by understanding that survival and growth are not opposites." Across countless systems, celebrations erupted. Not for victory in battle, but for something rarer. A future earned together. Humanity's reputation changed one final time. They were no longer newcomers. No longer underestimated. They became known as the species that turned crisis into creation. The gardeners who taught the galaxy that strength was not measured by what you could destroy, but by what you could help grow. The endless story. Years later, Elias stood on Lyra's observation deck, watching new exploration fleets depart, mixed crews of humans and aliens traveling beyond known space. "Do you think the Aetheri knew this would happen?" he asked. Lyra answered gently. They hoped. The stars ahead were no longer frightening. They felt like open soil waiting for seeds. "And now?" Elias asked. "Now," Lyra said, "the garden continues." Somewhere far beyond the mapped stars, new mysteries waited. New challenges. New stories. And humanity, curious and stubborn as ever, moved forward, not as conquerors of the universe, but as caretakers of its future. Because the greatest human discovery had never been faster ships or stronger weapons. It was the simple realization that even among the stars, life grows best when someone chooses to care.